Hey, what up, y'all? What's poppin'? What's poppin'? What's poppin'? What's poppin'? What's poppin'? What's poppin'? Good morning. Good morning. I appreciate all y'all being here. I was a little worried for a second. I was like, where everybody at? You know what I'm saying? It was like the four of us sitting here for a little second. So, one, I appreciate all y'all showing up this morning. Honestly, y'all know the vibes. Recently, this book has been crazy. Hope y'all have had a great week. Yep, we missed it. It's all good, right? No thing. But with that being said, um, I am honestly very excited, y'all. This book has been, as I've been saying the entire time, just right on time with everything that we've been going through and in the process. So I'm excited to really see what y'all took from it because I had some very interesting takes on it. So with that being said, I think that I'm going to pass it to my man Josh just because I saw him just take a bite. You know what I'm saying? I just had to do it to him. Might as well go and chew that. But while he chews that, man, big shout out to this man. Launch week, the last week and a half, really has gone amazing for this man. I've been seeing a lot of traffic on his website. Dude, just shout out you, bro. I just wanted to get you that real quick here on the book club, a whole squad. You've been snapping, my mans. So if you want to learn how to launch a brand, take notes from that man. You know what I'm saying? He's getting it in, literally. So go ahead, kick us off, bro. I see that mouth is full. Or no, excuse me, Clee.
My guy, I appreciate you. He said I picked you because you were eating. Let me just stop you from getting those gains, man. Come on, man. But happy Saturday, guys. Hope everybody's having a blessed one. It's a little chilly over here in Dallas, Texas. I stepped outside. I was like, oh, let me go back inside, give me a little coat. You know what I'm saying? Shameless plug right there. But like I said, I hope everybody's having a great one. To start it off, chapter 12 and 13. Basically, just talking about being authentic, being yourself. More people taste and smell that you're being unauthentic than they do that you're being yourself. So he was saying that it's better to be yourself because more people are able to connect with that. And as you continue to be yourself, you'll grab a community. And when you grab a community, they can tell that, like I know y'all watch YouTubers, and then if you meet the YouTuber or meet somebody famous, you're like, whoa, you're the same exact person you are on social media or something like that. So that's what you want. You want to be authentic through your content and what you're sharing, and also be the same person in person. So that way they're able to connect more with you. So that's kind of what I got from these chapters here. And then talking about the recipe, basically saying he was talking to his grandma about cooking, and she didn't have a full recipe. She has something from her ancestors or from people that taught her. So she only says like, "Oh, do a little dash of this or cut a half a butter, something like that." So basically, just what TGF has for us, like we're learning from the leaders, we're learning from other people, so we can always put our own spin on it, and we can always show how we learned, but also change it up a little bit to make it easier for more people that are coming into our community and organization. Uh, but yeah, I mean, that's what I got from it. Just being yourself, being authentic, and keep going because more people like authenticity than they like fake people. But yeah, we in outer space, by the way. We changing locations over here. I'm gonna toss it to that boy D. He getting his water in, but yeah, I'm gonna interrupt that.
Nothing, bro. I was gonna ask you like you eating before the gym, but um, what's it called? I did not read this week. I just wanted to hop on and see what the book was about. This was my technically like my first week at work, and going from not working at all to waking up at 3:45 in the morning is crazy. My body and my mental is feeling it, but we adjust, and I just wanted to hop on here just to hear the insights of what y'all took away because I didn't read this week. So I can go last but I heard what Josh was saying and I like this one. I know Donnie got sleepy hair. I don't know why this one's picking up right now. I need a haircut, but I'll leave it open. If anybody, I see a lot of people are driving. So if anybody's good to go driving or Marquitos or Pia, Donnie, Amber.
Okay. Bro, congrats on your job, bro. What do you call
Appreciate-
it? I
Oh,
know
real quick,
things are
I
busy.
get started. I get started on the what is it, 20 or on the 8th next month.
Let's go. Let's get it. What do you call it? There's a free audio too, bro, if you need it. I know Josh has been listening to it, so if you find yourself having a hard time picking up the book
It
and
ain't
reading it,
free. It ain't free.
okay, it's not free. Never
On
mind.
It's
audio.
free on
Audible.
Spotify.
Ah,
On Spotify, it's free.
Callie. It's on Spotify. It's free on Spotify. Go get it. All
I'm
right.
canceling my Audible membership as we speak.
Hey, bro,
There's a lot of
honestly,
books on Spotify.
that's real life, bro. I remember Seven Spiritual Laws was on Spotify as well. So I think one of the things that I really liked about it was obviously authenticity has been one of the biggest things that I've learned of in the past. That's really changed the game for me. I know when we were at Break the Code, I really had like a revelation last year of love and gratitude are some of the highest forms of vibrations, and authenticity with love and gratitude is the greatest form of vibration you can really be operating in. And I know that once I really like put aside what other people thought or what I thought, and I was just like being authentically myself, along with um not forgetting that, as TD Jake says, that when you have the mic, it comes with great responsibility. Being mindful of the message that I portray and who it is that I put myself out there to be, it allowed me to just really be in tune with like what I care about most, and the type of values that I've always wanted to go after within my life. I thought it was really cool on in the section of Tilt Your Mirror, where he talks about when you experience heat from your mic because you need to convey a message you know your audience really doesn't want to hear. Bro, I don't know how else to like really like when my guy Mikhail says right on time, it's absolutely right on time, because beforehand, a little above, he said that the best communicators learn to operate with similar receptivity, resilience, and resourcefulness. They accept the new constraints and operate within them. They use different recipes that utilize what's available rather than risk paralysis by fixating on the loss of their initial vision. You may always get nervous, feel disappointed, and freak out when things go sideways at the last minute before you're scheduled to communicate. Such reactions are only human. How you respond to them, however, is your choice. So in order to like really pick up on spontaneity and like making sure that you can, as we touched on earlier, change your menu through being resilient, being resourceful is really important, because life happens, y'all. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, everybody's got stuff that people don't know about or that people are unaware of. And you have to be mindful that while you're going through it, you have to learn to operate with that same resilience and resourcefulness to make it happen. And when it's time to communicate, give your best effort and do better for next time. But as he was saying with tilting your mirror, conveying a message you know the audience really doesn't want to hear. Sometimes whether it's like disappointing news or it's confronting an issue, communicating anything that can be construed as criticism is always challenging. And in that process, he brought up the story of the Old Testament, and it's crazy because like as I've been diving back into the Bible, or excuse me, as I've been diving in through this year, and I went back into the Old Testament, I started with the second book of Samuel as well. And I remember when Nathan the prophet went and talked with David about his wrongdoings. Like, be mindful that David is one of the most respected and revered kings among all of Israel's nation. Like, it is through his bloodline that Jesus Christ came. So, like, for somebody like Nathan as a prophet, because God was speaking through him to the people, to let David know the links he had gone in order to hide his crimes and dull his consciousness to avoid exposure. Um, he understood that a direct approach will not work. Not if he wants any chance of living, but also having David repent, which is the reason God sent Nathan for the confrontation. So y'all gotta understand, This man, David, as righteous as he was, as a human being and sinned really badly. Like, I'm talking about he lustfully saw a woman bathing. And mind you, this man has already multiple wives and kids at this point. A lot of his army and his soldiers are out at war. I'm kind of give y'all a little background. That's why it's really significant. All of his armies were out at war, and usually it's traditionary for the king to fight amongst their army, but he decided to stay back in this time. He was still retaking the land of Israel for Israel's people. And at that process, he saw this woman showering, was like, tell her I want her. And so he sent for her, not knowing who she was or what was going on. And even though he should have been serving in his purpose, he was chilling at the crib, got tempted, and called this woman over. Now, mind you, this woman's married, bro. All right. She's married and had literally just got, her name was Bathsheba, I believe. It doesn't say in here, but I remember it verbatim. She had just like finished her cleaning ritual for her menstrual cycle, which means like she was prime to become pregnant. And that's what happened. Like as a woman, like, okay, yeah, I understand like they're not supposed to commit adultery, but you had to think from her perspective, this man's a king and he ordered her to come to the palace and then he did his thing. So not only did he commit adultery, but she got pregnant with the kid. It was not her husband's, and the husband was like a loyal servant to King David. I'm really spending time on this because I feel like we struggle as a team to have some honest communication and transparent conversations. I've had multiple individual combos about that part, and I feel like if we improve on this, I think that we can literally go and impact the entire globe and the planet. But we have to be mindful of knowing what it is that people are doing and then having that self-accountability and communicate in a way that somebody can reflect on it and see it the way that Nathan talked to David. Because after this man, David, went and understood that she was married after the fact, he sent for the guy's, her husband, and her husband was a loyal servant general. Like this man was out here fighting for God. And what he decided to do is he told his commanding general, hey, you need to put him on the front lines in this next battle because I want him gone. And that's what happened. He went to the front lines and he died. So not only did he commit adultery and had a child out of wedlock, but he also murdered. Like he literally orchestrated a murder for this guy who was just in the crossfire of lust. Like he did nothing wrong. And what Nathan, as God was talking to him to go and speak to David, Nathan had to go and figure out a way to communicate to easily one of the most influential people in history on like, hey, bro, you effed up. And you're out here acting like nothing wrong. Is essentially how he communicated. If you actually take some time to read it, this is my bad, I'm touching on this for a little bit, but there's not a lot of people on here, and I think this is really important. So this is what Nathan said. The Lord sent Nathan to David. When he came to him, he said, there were two men in a certain town, one rich and the other poor. The rich man had a very large number of sheep and cattle, but the poor man had nothing except one little ewe lamb he had bought. He raised it, and it grew up with him and his children. It shared his food, drank from his cup, and even slept in his arms. It was like a daughter to him. Now a traveler came to the rich man, but the rich man refrained from taking one of his own sheep or cattle to prepare a meal for the traveler who had come to him. Instead, the rich man took the one lamb that belonged to the poor man and prepared it for the one who had come to him. David burned with anger against the man and said to Nathan, as surely as the Lord lives, the man who did this must die. He must pay for the lamb 4 times over because he did such a thing and had no pity. Then Nathan said to David, you are that man. And at the end of the day, sometimes, y'all, it really does take a brilliant strategy to convey and communicate a message in a different way so that somebody can perceive it from a different angle and not be quick to protect or feel as though they're being attacked when you as a leader or as a friend or as a brother or as a husband or as a wife or as a boyfriend or as a girlfriend or as a cousin, goes and communicates to another individual like, hey, bro, you messed up. Or like, here's your actions. Here's what you've done. Here's what I've seen. What are you on? Because Nathan was literally holding this man accountable to God's standards, not their own. And like, bro, it's super powerful because David could literally have this man head chopped off if he wanted to. He's the whole king of like one of the greatest nations at the time. So what I'm saying is what he really touched on. I think I had this part highlighted. Now, if he wants any chance, not only at living, but also helping David repent, which is the reason God sent Nathan for the confrontation. Out of either desperation or brilliance, Nathan chooses an unexpected approach. He knows that no one likes to have their secrets exposed or to be called out for sins that they're struggling to own. And surely David, as the king of Israel, was no different. So Nathan comes up with a way to delegate matter by finding another angle, one that this man, T.D. Jakes, calls tilting the mirror. This is something that Mikhail and I do to each other very often. It's probably why I'm so grateful for this man, because we have been able to help like in a healthy manner. We back in World Ventures, we called it like put a mirror in someone's face, bro. Like let them see exactly what's good. But sometimes the delivery and the approach of that could literally skew the vision that someone's seeing in the mirror. You might be showing them, but they might be seeing something else because they're already struggling to understand that they're participating in actions or lack thereof. So what Mikhail and I do is we literally tilt the mirror to each other so that we can see it in a different angle and we can see the things behind the things that are obvious. Because as you grow, like I'll need y'all to understand, like confrontation is always going to be there. Conflict and lack of understanding or differences of perspectives are always going to be there. We're human beings. And at the end of the day, if you learn how to communicate the same message in a different manner so that someone can fully receive it, you tilt the mirror and you're allowing them to grow better from it. Because whether or not they decide to go and take life with you every step of the way from that moment on, I guarantee you, if you would tilt the mirror and you allow them to see it in a different way, they'll remember that consistently. More people have a change of heart through the gap of silence or the gap of thought processes that happen when somebody is reflecting it on their own. So if you're able to be like Nathan, and instead of just going for a direct, let's rip the band-aid off, I'm tired of people, I'm tired of you, what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, this is stuff that I've had to like actually implement within my leadership on a continual basis. And I feel like if we all learn how to speak freely, then a lot of the issues that we run into or will run into will be overcome. Because when the mic gets hot, you keep your cool. That's really what it's about. And the way that I understood the chapter essentially is when things get rough, when people are going through a rock the tree moment and you're really seeing where the dead leaves are falling and which leaves are actually in tune with the roots, then you're able to really understand where you're at, where you're going, and the people around you. And then you can move accordingly. So one, I love you guys, and I absolutely my fault for kind of diving in on that a lot, but like a big, bro, it was one of the most significant things that I read out of the Bible, and the fact that he brought it up was honestly surreal to me, because it makes a big difference. And then the recipe is essentially so he quoted himself, which is really cool. But oh no, it was by Dr. Frank Thomas. I apologize. But the recipe for creating flavorful communication requires following the directions and knowing when not to. It's like man, hey, bro, real talk. So like y'all know when y'all making a new like dish that you've never made before and it says a certain amount of like pepper or salt, and like sometimes depending on, this is not racist at all, but like depending on if you're white or black or Mexican, it just depends, like it's a different amount. Like my mom never taught me ratios. Like Tia's laughing because she knows we've talked about this before. My mom's never taught me like ratios. She was like, or my stepdad, he was like, bro, just throw that thing in there. You know what I'm saying? Like you taste as you go. I was like, okay, bet. But at the end of the day, what the recipe really talks about is whether you're making it from scratch or you're implementing different parts to of cultures to reach more people. A lot of the aspect is implementing truth to produce truth. And I loved how he talked about folklore and storytelling. He said storytelling is the ability to take abstract truth and place it in images of everyday life. And he talked about that the bishop pointed out that Jesus was a storyteller and the parables are Jesus simply telling stories. In the 21st century, Jesus would have made movies. Jesus would have made movies because he told stories that produce truth. And like some of the best movies out here are like movies that were true. You know what I'm saying? Like I know I've really been captivated when this is told as a true story. And I'm like drawn into the movie. And I thought that was really cool because like whenever I read Jesus's words that are highlighted in a different color, usually it's red in the Bible. I kind of like play a movie in my head on like how he explained it and then what he was actually explaining. And I think it's really cool because if you understand like in sales, we learn that facts tell, stories sell. But stories from the beginning of time has been the way that people have communicated. Like the caveman before there were words drew pictures on a cave on a wall to talk about and document what has happened and where it is that they're at. And I think right after that, he really dove into pain into power. Where's and he really talked about the oppression of African Americans in the beginning in South Africa. Where is it at? I can't find it. Hold on. It was actually really good. Okay, so he went over one of TD Jake's sermons, and he essentially talked about Black people brought suffering to the biblical text and found a response. Like, if you really think about the oppression that Black people really face here in America and how a lot of them were really steadfast in their faith and they were referencing back to stories of the Bible that they heard. This is what TD Jakes said, and I just want to leave y'all with this as we keep going, because specifically he goes, we do not want the people to feel our pain when we are preaching. We want to take our pain and combust it into the message. But essentially, like, remember that people relate to the pain so they can actually hear you for what you're going through and where you're at. He goes, when you look at people who have literally been beaten and a God who has been laid on a whipping post, when you look at a people who have been unjustly arrested and you look at a Jesus that they found no fault in and yet crucified, he is kin to my history. He fits well at the family table. This notion of a suffering savior fits well with the suffering people of any group or people. A suffering woman, a suffering gender, a suffering generation. The suffering savior reflects us in such a we can be kin to him through though he's 2,000 years away. We are kin to the story, and to hear that he is hidden and then risen gives me hope that if I can withstand the turbulence on Friday, Sunday's coming. The fact that he would rise again is not strange to me because every day I have to have a resurrection because every night before it, I had a crucifixion. I identify with Christ's story, with the Bible story. I find my face in its pages. And I was like, whoa, Pastor, whoa. You know what I'm saying? I knew I wanted to read that to you guys, especially because I know most people just haven't read. And I don't know, like my journey has been one of walking as Christ-like as possible and faltering along the way, and realizing that, as he said, if you withstand the turbulence, Sunday's coming. If you withstand the crucifixion, then you can rise anew and you can be made whole. And yeah, I've always found myself and my face in its pages as well. And I'm just grateful on how timely it is, because the recipe is being authentic and real, bro. And buckling down in the midst of the turbulence and in the struggle, and finding the meaning of it all, finding the purpose of it all and walking in it. So, yeah, man, I really wanted to touch on that because, like I said, and I've been saying this for a minute, so I'm looking forward to our TGF tap-in call. Cannot cap to you. I just feel like as a whole, we really have a hard time just communicating some things that if we just have some honest communication, a lot of issues or information would be construed in a very healthy way, and people would be on the same page. And I think there's just a lot of people who are going through it. So one, always remind yourself that, like, as you are going through storms, you never know what other storms people are going through. And two, allow life to teach them just as much as you teach them, by painting a different perspective and knowing that we all were saved by a Christ who allows us to go through that same process of laying it at the cross, killing off the old, and rising into the new. So, Dan, we should have started. I should have requested it, but Still I Rise by Big Sean, boy. This chapter literally reminded me of that song. So if you ain't heard it, go and listen to that thing. It's one of the dopest songs out there. Still I Rise, Big Sean. Anyways, I'll shut up now. Appreciate y'all. Much love. Amber, you got it, girl.
Me, Marcus, thank you for being so vulnerable and authentic and real. Appreciate you. For real. One of the things that stuck out to me and that I really resonated with in these couple chapters was the authenticity, like just really allowing yourself to be yourself and understanding that that is what connects to the audience, like you being authentic and vulnerable, and going back to talking about the pain. Whenever you are real with your experiences, that's when we're able to really connect and really tap in. There's something else that I wanted to say. Hold on. Right here. Voicing the pain for your audience provides validation and often vindication. And so whenever we are able to just not be afraid to acknowledge that pain, not be afraid to acknowledge the elephant in the room, I feel like it really helps us actually be more beneficial to our audience and to our people that we're serving, because we're able to take all the things that we're learning and help them put it in, what's the word, practical terms. It helps them see themselves in our story, in the lessons. And so I don't have much to say today, but that's really just the point that I wanted to hit on, and that's what I took away from these couple chapters. Anyone else want to say anything? Yeah. No one has their camera on. Yeah,
I'll go. What's going on, y'all? I appreciate you for sharing. I definitely resonated with a lot of what Marcus said. There are a lot of tough situations and circumstances, and things that a lot of people have a lot of time confronting or talking about because it's uncomfortable. So the fact that he was talking about how he was specifically talking about during sermons. I remember he was, because I listened to the audio, but he was talking about how some you may forget what you're going to say, or you may be talking and lose your train of thought type thing. But not to get flustered and not to lose sight of the message that you're overall trying to convey to the people. You may have to obviously switch it up and deviate a little bit, but overall the message is still the same, and you just really got to learn how to power through the adversity, even though it might be a little tough. So and then as far as like the recipe goes, honestly, he was saying toward the beginning of the chapter about how a lot of people have the sauce, they got the recipe, they have the instruction, but they don't necessarily take the time to write it down or like make sure that the next people have the steps in order to duplicate whatever it is that you're trying to make or create, I guess, in a sense. So just really taking the value that you have and not keeping it to yourself type thing, but sharing it with other people and allowing other people to also grow through what to be true. So that's just kind of what I took away from it. I'm not sure anybody else wants to go. I don't know if Kels can hear me right now, but if you can, girl, go ahead. If not, somebody else could take over.
Sorry, I put my phone down. Yeah, I can go. Yeah, everybody kind of touched on the points that I took away from this week. Austin and I were listening to it this morning, like you said. My biggest kind of point that stuck with me on chapter 12, like aside from the authenticity and that side of things was yeah, kind of like Austin said, like things happen when you are giving a message, when you are presenting, speaking, whatever the case is, and not really letting that get to you. I was telling Austin about it before we left the house. Like I've been to a sermon, and the pastor, like you could tell that he lost his train of thought. And then you saw him kind of like standing there, and he scanned the room, and he could tell that everybody else knew that he was flustered and stuff like that. And then the remaining, he kind of let that get to him, really. And the rest of the 20 or so minutes that we had left in the service was very awkward. And so really just having that confidence, the self-awareness in yourself of like that happens, but take a breath, keep going, not letting the external things really deviate you from what you're trying to convey to the people you're speaking to. And then chapter 13 it was the recipe, really kind of having that idea, like picking parts. I think a lot of services, speeches, whatever you want to call it, they all do kind of follow a similar recipe. But like Marcus said, I mean, it's building upon previous chapters that we've read as well, reading your audience, knowing how much of this to give, how much of that to give. Some environments, I guess, need a little more in your face type of communication. Others might not need as much. But yeah, just kind of again going with the flow of things, knowing how much of what to put in there. So that was kind of a couple quick takeaways that I got from these chapters. I know Donnie hasn't gone, Mikkel, Tia, Anyone? Yeah, I see your head. Donnie? I don't know where he's at.
John.
What's poppin', everybody? What's happening? What's happening? What's brackin'? I didn't read. I'm just kidding. I am getting things situated here with my mom's, but as I was going through and refreshing this morning, from what I read, just seeing like how it is that people can communicate different messages, and I mean Marcus touched on a lot of what I was going to talk about in the tilting the mirror and taking a different perspective and understanding on a situation. And then I was really diving and honing in on the the meal and the message, and how really just having that creating that recipe, as he talks about in 13, uh, leading on from chapter 12 and part 5, where you got to have the ingredients and the directions in a conversation and what it is that you communicate, um, being the how, the what, and really just understanding who it is that you're talking to portray the message, whether it's criticism, and communicating it in a way that they're not taking offense. And if they do, he talks about in the uh, the change the menu. So change the menu, that he talks about in chapter 12, and how, like, say someone who you're communicating criticism to takes offense and doesn't like the way that you approached it, changing the menu and how it is that you communicate what it is that you're trying to communicate, and going it about it differently than what it is that you initially started with. And I think it's imperative, as we continue to grow, to understand these things, to curate and effectively communicate a message, whether it's good or bad situations. But like Marcus said, conflicts are inevitable and they're going to happen. So it's just a matter of knowing how to go about those conflicts with effective communication, and the recipe that you curate when you're effectively communicating, because the dish flows if you're able to use the right ingredients. So what I got. I'm gonna go ahead and pass this thing to Mr. Mikhail Seal. Everybody wants to sign, but nobody want to follow the recipe.
Hey, now you understand why I said that the other day, and I was like, "Yo, this is one of my favorite songs I've been into." Because I literally just got through reading this chapter. You guys can hear me?
Yeah, are these both yours?
No, this one's mine.
Let me get my
I already ate one. Just this one. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, what up, y'all?
Yep.
What's good? What's good? What's good? What's good? So one, like, bro, y'all hit on some amazing points. Whole squad did. Um, big shout out everybody who's gone thus far. Um, when Marcus talked about, or just when TJ Keaton talked about it either way, but just when he talked about basically using like just different ways on how to communicate. Yeah, I'll be doing this with value sessions all the time. And it's funny because I do it on purpose. And I be watching y'all face. So I be watching when everybody has those moments of like getting it and when it's for them. And when I've communicated it in a very general way and it's like heard a little different. But then at the same time, like everybody communicated it. It was like that thing that he talked about with Nathan and David. And it's just cool. It's cool to literally hear that moment because honestly, I've never heard that story and I've never read that story. David is had a real life, interesting life. People definitely got to read more into his story to really understand exactly who he is. And it's wild, y'all, because that's not anything I ever would have thought from King David. You know what I'm saying? Like the person who, like majority of the Bible stories that we all know are about. It's wild because they only tell you half the story. But with that though, it was honestly just an amazing moment because, you know, at one, I heard you say, Marcus, like silence can sometimes do a lot in time. And you just never know how life can literally teach some lessons that sometimes you be wanting to communicate, but you just gotta let life communicate it in a different way so that it can be heard. And I think that's fire that TDJ's touched on that. And then also, when we talk about the recipe, that's an interesting topic because right now, like as a squad, you know, we're all trying to learn digital entrepreneurship, right? And as we go through and learn digital entrepreneurship, this is like this is one reason why I thank God for Marcus. Like what he talked about at the end of the passage when he talked about the recipe, when he was like, "Hey, this is why Bishop Jakes asked me to be involved because like grandma ain't gonna write nothing down, and then somebody's gonna come in and actually like take notes on everything." Bro, Marcus came in and made me get organized about my entire life and actually become that person who starts writing down my recipes because before this, I never did. And so as we all go forward, I think that was a pivotal lesson to learn in leadership. And I just wanted to touch on that one part because whole squad touched on a lot of these last two chapters. And when it comes to the recipe, very end of the chapter, I'm just read it verbatim. For the end of that passage, he said, boop, 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 boop. But what happens to those who do not get the opportunity to be close to grandma? Or what if she dies and nothing is written down? In most cases, the further away from grandma you get generationally, the more you need the recipe. Someone in the family needs to ensure the recipe gets written down. And that is my goal in the following chapters. And honestly, it's extremely lit just for me looking at like the intro perspective of what we've built here with TGF, because all in all, that's what we're doing. We're really just getting out here and finding the best recipes, writing them down, and creating them to be accessible for the person who's not close to that person who knows the recipe like the back of their hand, to that person who's making $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 a month in their passion, in their skill set, with their brand. We can bring that information and bring it to an accessible place for all of our people. But we got to be the ones to, one, learn the recipe if it's written down, or two, get closer to the people who know the recipe. And I feel that in this space of direct sales, in this space of what we're all doing, I feel like at times, those of us who are actually out here having results, we literally like, I think that we can be a lot closer, not only with each other, but with everybody. And those of us that aren't having that much results, we can figure out a way to get closer to those that are so that they can actually learn the recipe. Because like, how did I learn the presentation? It was not by like just looking at the presentation slides. It was by watching somebody else do the presentation over and over and over and over and over again. But I wasn't just watching, I was bringing a guest every time, income producing activities like we talked about. But with that, it's like you'll learn the recipe the closer you get to the people that know the recipe. So like, don't be out here wondering why you don't know the recipe or why you're not like actually making good food if you're not close to those who are giving the recipe, or if you're not actually reading and performing the written recipe. You know, so I just think that that was a big point in this whole chapter, and I just wanted to touch on it because, as my man Donnie pointed out right before he brought me on, one of my favorite songs, because everybody wants the sauce, but don't nobody want to follow the recipe. When I'm in the kitchen, put my foot in it, I got to give it my everything. That's the next part of that song is my jam. But shout out Caleb Gordon for that one. But real life, like when it comes to the recipe, this thing is written down. It's piece by piece, play by play. And all you got to literally do is just execute that thing. And if you're not willing to actually go and read the play, go be willing to get close to the people. Like for me, I'm not that big of a reader, but I'm really big on people. I'll go get really close to the people who know the play and understand exactly how their brain works and understand exactly how the play works. To get it back to, hey, me and Marcus can chop it up and we can sit down with his organized brain and we can write the recipe down. And then boom, bring it to squad and boom, all of a sudden we're dropping another program and we're launching a course that everybody's actually having success with who have taken it. So like these are the pieces to the puzzle that he's literally breaking down, that if you overstand them instead of understand them and just do them, literally keys to success right here. So I just want to touch on that. And if anybody else is not left to go, then I'm going to kick it back to Marcus.
Your wifey?
She ain't even thinking about this. AirPod ain't even in. You want to go, babe? Babe? No, it's not happening. We were like done. We were asking you if you were going to go.
Yeah, you know who's calling you. You know who's calling on you.
Hey, yo. She goes.
You know who's
Yeah,
calling
yeah,
on you.
yeah. We calling
Ain't
on
nothing
you.
new. Ain't nothing
Where you
new.
at? Where you at?
She goes, you know who's calling you?
Ain't nothing new. Ain't nothing new. It's every
Where
Saturday.
you
You know
at?
the vibe.
Where you at?
Hey, you know what she said, Marcus? She said, I wish he called in real life.
Oh, that's booty. Cause I do. But whatever. If you want to deflect, it's okay. I love you. I'll let you deflect, and I love you.
Wait, you call me.
Nonetheless. I bet.
But listen, I love y'all. Marcus, you can take us off or end us.
Y'all are two parts to a whole. All right, you're married. So I be calling. Play with me.
He said he'd be calling her. Yeah. I'm gonna mute myself so we can end this call because we record.
Yeah. Anyways, bow. So appreciate everybody participating and actually throwing in their insight. Honestly, it was amazing to hear everybody's different takes. And shout out, like at the end of the day, y'all. And this is just to touch on a little bit of Austin we talked about earlier before everyone started hopping on. Like for me and Mikhail, bare minimum, we've always made the commitment to be here. Like every Saturday. And at the end of the day, we are so in tune and focused on the vision that we don't, excuse my language recording, I don't give a damn who hops on or if no one hops on. Because if you can collaborate with one other person and gain a different perspective, then you can always win. What I'm saying is we got 6 people, or I lied, there's 9 people on this call. Am I tripping, or is that the amount of people? Yep, 369. All right. We got 9 people on this call, y'all. And at the end of the day, most people ain't, again, waking up on a Saturday and talking about what it is that they read throughout the week to grow and get better. And even at that, most people that start usually don't finish. I mean, I know I've seen book clubs where we've had 30 people on this thing. Honestly, I prefer, I mean, I would love to have more people on the book club and reading, but I like these intimate conversations because it's genuine and real. Hopefully if someone catches the recording, they kind of wake up and realize, like, bro, this thing was designed for you, not me, but I will utilize it so that I can grow. You know what I'm saying? And in that process, like, y'all, if we are the only 9 that shows up all the time, then in my opinion, I don't give a damn. It's new team season, bro. I'm ready to go and find new people. I'm ready to go and help more people. I'm ready to go and have a greater impact. And I'm genuinely focused on the vision at hand. And that's, hey, we can't mess around. They had Coles quit playing. That kind of tripped me out. I ain't gonna lie, because I saw the Coles in Austin's and Kelsey's background. I'd be forgetting y'all are vibing with each other today. Okay, but anyways, completely took me off my train of thought because I was gonna say something fire and desire, but that's besides the point. The point being is, like, y'all, we set the trend, you know what I'm saying? And in that process, like, whoever comes. The train is moving. I've told everybody from jump, even before people were involved with what we got going on, I ain't missing the train. I gotta go. You know what I'm saying? So if we can all take care of ourselves and stay committed to ourselves, then we can be assured that, like, bro, I got confidence in you taking care of you and me taking care of me. And at the end of the day, most people have never done that. So it's a learning process, y'all, and everybody's going through it. And I appreciate y'all, shout out you guys for showing up for yourself and showing up for the community and showing up to actually better each other through diving into these knowledges. So we are wrapping up this book, bow, 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 with 14 and 15 next week. It's continuing off of the recipe and allowing you to understand exactly how to formulate that and utilize it. It's going to wrap it up nicely with the bow tie. And then 2 weeks from today, we're going to be starting The Power of Awareness. Y'all, I've been wanting to read this book since last year. And I really do feel like this one, if people actually dive into it, can change some things. There's a lot of depth to dissect in this book. And it's very clear and concise. I'm not gonna say it's short because it's a pretty lengthy book. It's not like crazy huge, but it's very important that we dive in and we stay intentional on this part of our awareness and the power behind it, because it allows for all things to come. It allows for all things to change. So I will be posting a new book post in the TGF Book Club. If you've got team members that have not been hopping on, chop it up with them, tell them to hop on, tell them to get this book, and that we're going to be starting up with the new book in 2 weeks. I'll make sure to actually talk about that on the team call this Wednesday as well. But with that being said, y'all, please go listen to 2 songs today. 1, Still I Rise, or I Rise. I'll send it, but Big Sean. And then 2, what is it called, bro? Selling My Dreams by Caleb Gordon? Or Selling Dreams. I think it's called Selling Dreams. Selling Dreams by Caleb Gordon.
Sell
I'll
my
send you
dreams. Sell my
Sell My
dreams.
Dreams. Sell My Dreams. Wow. I think, like, bro, it's just a 1-2 punch of what this book was talking about over these past 2 chapters. And I thought it was really cool, so I wanted to share with you guys to actually take a listen. But love you guys. I hope you have a great Saturday. If y'all need anything, let me know. When most people relax and take their foot off the gas, keep that thing down. We got a lot of things popping. Budapest is popping out there in Hungary, and got a lot of updates to come. Stay mindful. And those who are is everybody by their camera? Can y'all turn on y'all's camera real quick? Or boob. I just want to see y'all's faces.
Can you guys hear me? You hear me?
Mhm.
We used to do this thing in the very beginning back in the day. Everybody would turn on their camera and we'd take a picture and we'd all post on a story. Can we do that today?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm fighting stormtroopers. Oh, damn.
Hey, bro,
Oh.
but hey, real talk though. I think Austin made a great point, and there's a lot of you guys that know what's popping with our app. Participate. participate in the app, bro. If y'all don't want to participate in anything else, like just dive into the app. Let's go and cultivate a community for people who have never felt the vibe before or never really understood what family looks like. And we could do that for each other. We could do that for our individuals. So that being said, let's take a picture. Boo boo. Oh, was I the one taking the photo?
I definitely took a photo.
Hey,
I love y'all.
hey, nah, I took a video, bro. I was just messing with y'all. I love you guys. Have a good one.
What's
Happy
that?
Saturday. Y'all know the vibes. Call me, text me, beat me if you need to reach me. Peace, y'all.
Yep.
All right, go end it. Oh wait.
Hey, Mikhail.
Well, actually, I don't have to end it.
He's upstairs. You got to run all the way back downstairs. Bye.
Bye.